Good evening, Paul. Thank you for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you with us. As a soil scientist and founder of Umuntu Agrobiotics, your work in advancing sustainable agriculture through microbial biotechnology is making a meaningful contribution to climate resilient farming. As climate conversations continue to evolve, one area that's gaining significant attention is the agro food system. While it feeds more than 8 billion people, it also contributes nearly one third of global greenhouse gas emissions, making it one of the most critical sectors in the fight against climate change. This inspired us at the Frost Sullivan Institute to explore how innovators are addressing this challenge. Through our research, we published the blog Feeding the Planet, Fixing the Climate, Agri-Food Emissions, and the Startups Leading the Way, where we highlighted a few startups that are driving meaningful change across the agri-food ecosystem. Among them, your venture, Umuntu Agrobiotics, stood out in particular. Your approach to improving soil health through microbial biotechnology addresses the challenge at its source, helping farmers reduce dependence on synthetic inputs while improving productivity and building climate resilience. We were especially impressed by your focus on making these solutions accessible to smaller whole farmers, creating impact that is both sustainable and scalable. We're excited to learn more about your journey, the science behind your innovation, and your vision for the future of regenerative agriculture. Thank you once again for being with us today. Paul, thank you.
Thank you so much, Aroop, for that wonderful interest in actually our organization, Umuntu. I Whatever Frost and Sullivan is actually doing by spotlighting companies like us, it gives startups confidence that whatever they are doing is not going unrecognized, but it is actually recognized, and that goes beyond actually the visibility. But within the team itself, there is a confidence that is built to do more of whatever we are doing. And so we are very grateful to the Frost and Sullivan Institute, first of all, for the spotlight, but also for putting us among the big players that we are listed on within that blog. So thank you so much, Arup, and I'm excited to see where this talk shall take us.
Lovely. Thank you, Paul. So my first question to you is about the origin. So, your journey began with the belief that restoring soil microbiology could transform agriculture. So what inspired you, or what observations convinced you that microbes, not chemicals, would become the foundation of a great solution, or in other words, your solution?
Arup, we are seeing first of all, let me first talk about my academic journey because it is going to inform more what I'm actually going to talk about. I did a bachelor's degree in agricultural land use and management from Makerere University. Then I joined Israel for 19 months of hands-on experience at a certain farm in Israel. Then I started a master's degree in soil science from Makerere University, and then completed a master's degree in climate change from the University of East Anglia, United Kingdom. Now, I come from a farming background. It's an agricultural background. So what does that mean? I had a very big opportunity to interact with farming systems. Although I couldn't differentiate distinguish between what was working and that which wasn't, I could see that we are able to get yields from low inputs. I think that was around 2010 downwards to 1999, around there. And what actually this taught us that it is possible to produce with the minimal inputs possible.
Right.
And then when I transitioned into the academic journey, and then and the exposure to different countries, I've learned that the soil system is not an isolated system, but is a system that is composed of components that are integrated. It's an integrated system, whereby for the entire system to function, all these components have to work hand in hand. When I studied soil science, studied crop science, studied sustainable land use and management, studied the climate change, I got to understand that a soil and a farming system is not an isolated system, but rather an integrated one. For example, the soil, we have an organic component, which is like the organic matter. Then we have the mineral component, we have the water, and then the air. Now, where the problem is coming in, the current world is trying to isolate these four. To consider that I can work on one, then the system can function. I'm specific on now on the minerals. Currently, farmers have been told, buy this fertilizer, buy this synthetic fertilizer, your problem has been solved. And by doing that, we're isolating one component from the integrated system. And that's why the system is collapsing.
Right.
And when we are talking about a dead soil, we're not meaning a soil that has no nutrients, or a soil that has no water, or a soil that has no air, or a soil that has no organic matter. But we are talking of a soil that is lacking any of this. Even if the soil has no microorganism, which is the core foundation of the entire soil system, the soil is considered dead. A soil can have the mineral component, which are the nutrients basically, but still fail to function. Otherwise, mineral where they mine minerals from would have been best areas to grow crops. But that's not the case. Actually, crops don't do well from the other side, meaning there's something important that is actually ignored, yet the most critical. When we see the forest soils, no fertilizers are being applied in forests, but you'll find a fruit healthy, non-disease affected, and it is edible. Doing well, crops are growing vigorously within the forest ecosystem. So from our side, we realized, let's bring back that regenerative approach, the microbial content that is actually being ignored. Because, like I said earlier, microbiology is the heart of the soil. If you fix the microorganisms, nutrients are going to get recycled. So we are getting the mineral component fixed. If we have the microorganisms, organic materials are going to be recycled. Organic carbon is coming. Climate change is being solved. Mitigation and greenhouse gas emissions are reducing. When we fix the microorganisms and the organic matter is fixed, we are seeing that the moisture and the aeration is being fixed. So we are solving one to solve the entire component. So that's why we believe that biological, specifically the microorganisms, not in isolation, of course, but in combination with other solutions that are not affecting their functionality, is a backbone and can be a backbone to the biggest challenge farmers are facing currently.
Lovely. Paul, very insightful. I learned a lot today. And
Yeah.
it's intriguing when you said that look at the forest.
Yeah.
Why are they growing, bearing fruits with high levels of productivity and yield?
Yeah.
And as I'm thinking through that, I'm realizing, yeah, it is true. And this is a key component of the
Yes.
soil that we have to look at.
Yes.
Totally
Yes.
correct. Totally correct. Excellent.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the innovation, of course, because there is so much happening. The biological agriculture is evolving rapidly with, I'm sure, many organizations developing sustainable farming solutions. From an innovation standpoint, what differentiates Umuntu Agrobiotics from other players in this space, and what unique value does your approach bring to farmers and the broader agri-food ecosystem?
It's super interesting, Arup. Now, let me bring it this way, and actually, I will be specific from this part of the world where I come from. Now, when we specifically talk about biological solutions, these are living systems.
Okay.
So I understand by the time you moved to USA, California, the first years, things were quite hard, I can believe. That's why you thought of maybe sometime you will leave. But when you got adapted to that area, you feel like that's where you belong. Now, this is what we're exactly doing. We these local we are building local solutions for local problems.
Okay.
You can't tell me a bacteria that has been isolated from India will come and perform better than a bacteria that is isolated from Uganda, in Uganda itself.
Okay.
That's where we are beating the imported solutions from. So whatever
Fantastic.
the biological solution, whichever biological solution that is being imported cannot perform better than ours that is locally adopted. So what is our approach? Our approach is by sourcing, isolating our bacteria right from the farmer ecosystem. So we did quite a lot of research to get to know which ones are the most important within the Ugandan ecosystem, not just introducing out of the blue. And we picked these from the ecosystem themselves. And then we carefully selected those that are most important, that are going to give the best benefits to the farm. So we're not introducing anything new per se, but we are introducing that technology that has existed for a long period of time. So what we do, we isolate these microorganisms from the farming ecosystem itself within the vicinity of farmers, work around research, and reintroduce these in the needed quantities. You know, microbiology, the life of microbiology within the soil is dying because of
Okay.
the farming system, the practices, the climate change, and the use of the chemicals. So the
Okay.
population is dying off, is reducing. So we try to introduce them in the balanced quantities that the soil needs for the soil for the crops to grow
Sure.
regeneratively. So that is the gist of our competitive advantage and differentiation. So the fact that we are locally sourced, our microorganisms are more adapted to the local conditions. Therefore, there is high survival and at the end of it all, performance in form of yield. And also
Okay.
what the local sourcing, the advantage it gives us, it makes our solution 42% cheaper than most of
Okay.
the solutions on market, because we are not going through importation. So we are cutting those costs. We are getting cheap raw materials from the farmers. So at the end of it all, we are 42% cheaper than most solutions on market. And for us, that's what differentiates us.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a little bit challenging question based on
Yeah.
what you just said, and that is,
Yeah.
obviously you want to do some widespread adoption in your country, Uganda, across Africa. You mentioned specifically that you have microbial solution for Uganda, which obviously will be better, well
Yeah.
suited compared to something from say another country like India. So how do you scale this solution in the agriculture sector, given that this is an issue that you have to resolve? So, for example, if you wanted to go to, say, Nigeria soil conditions will be different. How would you handle that? And what kind of collaboration can be done between farmers, researchers, governments, and industry to accelerate this process of widespread adoption?
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'll start with the internal collaboration. Firstly, how do we ensure actually that the product reaches more farmers, that collaboration between different stakeholders? So where we have put our focus, we let farmers own the entire distribution system. So we recently introduced what we call the business farmer to farmer model. So that one, we go to a district, for example, or a village. We let the village members select their own leader, who they think will represent them as a distributor. Then we identify 10 of those from different villages and we train them about our product. We give them business skills, how to manage accounts, basic business. So when these are equipped, now they become our distributors in that area. So by doing so, we are seeing a quick adoption, because first of all, it's the trust is growing quickly because they are buying from fellow farmers. And besides, they are seeing that those agents of ours, whom we give a free product to test and show to other farmers, are getting yields. But beyond actually that, we are seeing impact. We are creating green jobs to these farmers. Every district we go to, we ensure we pick up to 20 distribution agents, and these earn a commission on every product that they sell. So back to our question, beyond the business farmer to farmer model, we actually understand that scaling our solution will be a bit tricky. and that is something that investors don't want to hear. But it is actually not an expensive process, and it's actually not an expensive process. I thought I had lost you, sorry. And it's well streamlined. Let me start with the cross-border scaling around Uganda. Talking of Kenya, these countries that are in the tropics. From studying and from already from the metadata, the scientific research, we are not seeing much difference across the ecosystem. The temperatures are almost similar. I mean the climate. Are you still getting me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah,
Yes, no
okay,
problem. Yes,
okay.
yes.
The system in terms of the climate and the biological nature is not so different, especially in countries that are close to Uganda.
Okay.
So our approach for this, in 2 years, actually, we expect to scale to Kenya, and our approach is this. Firstly, we shall do simple research to understand the biology in those countries that are in the same climate system like Uganda, because scaling to that area won't be too expensive. So we understand the biology because we have already assumed that the climate is similar just from even from the research itself. So when we see a similarity in the microbiology, we shall go next by deploying the product that we have already.
Okay.
Then we see the performance on the product, on the crops and the yield and all that. Now let's go back to countries like Nigeria, Northern Africa, which are a bit far from Uganda.
Okay.
That one
Okay.
scientifically, we can't dodge the approach that we shall definitely create solutions that are tailored for those particular areas. Just like we did for Uganda, we shall have local hubs and operations in those countries, understand the microbiology in those countries, isolate the strains from those very countries, and then scale it within that very country. But of course, let me say we have gone to Nigeria as the Western Africa hub. The product that we shall develop for Nigeria will most likely work for countries surrounding Nigeria, Ghana, and all those countries, Togo. So it's you might find in the entire Africa we have done like 4 core research:
Okay.
Southern Africa, Eastern Africa its own, Western Africa, and Northern Africa. And we are done capturing the entire Africa. So it's not expensive as people think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. So scaling is going to be much easier. But
Yes.
given that we are living in this world of AI and data, so as obviously agriculture is becoming more and more data driven,
Yeah.
how do you see digital technologies like AI, remote sensing, precision agriculture? Will this complement the microbial biotechnology, or will it compete? How do you see this? And what do you see will be the next generation of solutions for farming, both in Africa and maybe even outside of Africa? But let's talk Africa for now.
Yeah. You see, Aro, uh, now AI is actually an opportunity, to be
Okay.
honest. And I don't think AI will ever replace the biological solutions.
Okay.
I really doubt. So what it might do is solutions might come in that are saying that there is it is going to replace, or it's giving more advantage than the biologicals, which is already being said with the synthetic fertilizers. But of course, more are still pushing the biologicals. So I'm seeing AI as a complement
Complement.
rather than a substitute for the biologicals. Like I said earlier, farming is an integrated system.
Correct.
The reason why farmers are slow at adopting the biologicals, which were actually the first solutions, because the effective microorganisms were innovated in 1970s, 1986, around there. And those were one of the first biologicals. And these solutions are not new solutions, they are old solutions. But farmers are ignoring them because they are getting those quick, use chemical to fix solutions, the problem quickly. So back to the integrated system. Farmers farmers think when you apply a chemical, you don't need to monitor the moisture. You don't need good agronomic practices. The moment you fix the nutrients, that's it. And that is the same way they see the biologicals. When they apply the biological and they plant late, even if they plant late, they weed late, they don't observe the moisture, they don't monitor the pests and diseases, and at the end of it all, they are seeing poor yields. The problem isn't the biological. The problem is because the farmer tried to think the biological alone is solving the entire system. So where is AI coming from? Innovators are coming up with AI solutions that are helping to monitor, to detect early diseases in crops,
Okay.
improve water efficiency in crop, and I'm seeing all these as complements. So if the water issue is fixed, the moisture issue is fixed, the disease issue is fixed, then we come in with our biologicals to fix the microbiology and the nutrient component, and the entire system is blessed. We are seeing bigger growth, and at the end of
Fantastic.
it, all surviving systems.
Fabulous, fabulous. Oh, this is exciting. I see the same with
Yeah,
AI. I always say it is a enhancer. It is something that will improve things, productivity, etc. It's not going to displace or replace anything, in my opinion, personal opinion.
yeah.
It'll make it better, cheaper, faster. So that is fantastic. So I wanted to, in conclusion, ask you, say, if you could change one policy, one industry practice, or one common misconception that you think would accelerate regenerative agriculture worldwide, what would that be? What would be your message to the world?
Uh, the message is one actually, especially now. I would like to go local. It's going to be to the world, but it's most importantly going to specific countries. I won't mention the countries. What I mean is local solutions and innovators or the private sector locally producing these biologicals and all that needs to be backed locally, even before the international backers come in. We've seen that we know we are living in conditions where we think finances are the only solutions to all this. If a company has finances, the entire problem is solved, which in reality isn't the case. So I've seen celebrations that 58% of the revenue of the investments that came from investors internationally into Africa. 58% went to Kenya, or 58% went to Nigeria, and there was a lot of making noise and celebration. But at the end of it all, what does it do?
Okay.
Because it's one thing to get the finances, it's another when they are enabling policies.
Okay.
So, but when the international backers and the local backers come together to support a private entity, it can never collapse.
Okay.
Let me give you an example. In our biological solution industry, there's what we have regulatory compliances. And trust me, whether you have $1 million in investment, if you don't have regulatory compliance, if you're not compliant or receive a certificate of regulatory compliance, your solution shall never scale.
Okay.
And that's where the problem is. You find that private entities push for these regulatory compliances for 3 years and above. I mean, why is it taking 3 years yet it is being locally sourced? And then when international people come in, they get it quick. So there is a problem. So my point is, while the governments, the nations are formulating policies, let these policies back local innovators, even before the international backers come in.
Okay. Correct.
Let the processes be streamlined so that innovators find it easy to even scale. That is it. Then on the side of the perception is actually more on the side of the farmers.
Farmers, yeah.
Let's not show farmers that we are trying to introduce something new. Biological solutions are not something new. I was giving you an example. The effective microorganisms back in, I think, 1970s, developed at one Japanese company by one Japanese university by one scientist. So these are things that have been happening quite for a long period of time. I mean, the entire system long ago was living on microorganisms, not on these chemicals. They have just come in after industrialization.
Correct.
So if we approach farmers in that line, that this what you're introducing is actually not new. It is that which has been in the soil. It has just been affected by your practices, by the practices of the prior farmers, and the climate change that is happening. So we are trying to rebuild your system naturally. We have tried that, and farmers are adopting quickly than never before.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Paul, first, a very big thank you to you for joining us today. This has been a very insightful discussion. Time is always a constraint, otherwise, we could be talking for the next few hours on this topic. As we all know, it is such a basic, but at the same time, a very important part of any country, any economy, where agriculture plays a very important role in the sustainability component. So, once again, I want to thank you for your time. I really appreciate. I wish you the very, very best in everything that you're doing. And as I mentioned earlier, if there's anything Frost and Sullivan can do, Institute can do, please let us know. We'll be happy to do it. My team will stay in touch with your team, and we hope to continue this journey in the future as well. So, with that, once again, Paul, thank you very much and very best wishes to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Aroop, and great thanks to the Frost and Sullivan Institute. Greetings to the entire team.
Lovely. Thanks, Paul. Take care.
All right.